In June 2021, GitHub launched Copilot, an AI pair programmer that could autocomplete your code. The promise was intoxicating: type less, ship faster. But 4 years later, a dirty secret has surfaced from real-world studies: you still have to read every single line of code the AI writes. And that hidden review tax often outweighs the speed gains. Copilot's autocomplete gets the right answer about 43% of the time on the first try, and 57% after 10 attempts. That feels like a win because each correct guess saves a few seconds of typing. But writing code is more than typing, it's understanding, designing, reviewing, and testing. The time you save on keystrokes can easily disappear when you add the minutes you now spend carefully reading every AI-generated line. Research from GitClear and METR reveals a hidden review tax that can outweigh the initial speed gains. Think of it this way: you accept a 10-line function that looks right. Later you spend 30 minutes tracking down a logic flaw inside it. That dwarfs the seconds the AI saves you typing. The mental model that typing equals work collapses once you realize your brain must still parse and verify everything the tool writes. The AI gives you a fast first draft, but the signature on the code, yours, requires full comprehension. The cost of skipping review is baked into the quality of AI-generated code. CodeRabbit analyzed 470 open-source pull requests in late 2025 and found AI co-authored code contained roughly 1.7 times more major issues than human-only code. Security vulnerabilities appeared 2.74 times more frequently. That means you can't treat the AI's output as a trusted colleague; it's more like a junior dev who misunderstands requirements often and introduces subtle bugs. Over 3 years, Veracode found that while large language models got dramatically better at writing functional code, their security track record barely improved. The 2025 study showed larger models weren't safer than smaller ones. So the review burden isn't shrinking over time; you must still parse every line for SQL injection, hard-coded secrets, and logic flaws. Skipping that scrutiny is like accepting a patch without reading the diff, something no senior engineer would do. The review tax compounds because each unchecked block can hide vulnerabilities that only surface in production. That's why manual review, automated testing, and security scanning remain non-negotiable even with AI assistance. Generic productivity metrics don't capture the real story. GitClear's longitudinal analysis of 211 million lines of code changes from 2020 to 2024 uncovered troubling trends. Code refactoring dropped from 25% of changed lines to under 10%, code duplication increased roughly fourfold, and code churn nearly doubled. In other words, instead of improving code, teams are letting AI generate repetitive, unrefactored blocks that require frequent rework. At the same time, a METR randomized controlled trial in July 2025 with 16 experienced open-source developers found that AI tools increased task completion time by 19%. The participants had predicted a 24% reduction before the tasks. That's a stark turnaround. Skilled developers not only failed to become faster but actually slowed down. The hidden review tax and the extra debugging needed to untangle AI-suggested entanglements erased the typing gains. The metrics paint a clear picture: mass adoption without disciplined review produces codebases that are bloated, fragile, and slower to evolve. The term vibe coding was coined in February 2025 by Andrei Karpathy and quickly became the 2025 Collins Word of the Year. It describes a workflow where developers describe a feature in plain language, let an AI generate the code, and deploy without careful review. The result? A growing mountain of technical debt. The Swedish app generator Lovable was found to have security vulnerabilities in 170 out of 1,645 generated web applications. Personal information could be accessed by anyone. By May 2026, engineers Mario Zechner and Armin Ronischer warned of a looming vibe slop crisis, companies trading near-term productivity for buggy software, outages, and mounting debt. That same month, the RSANC project experienced a series of Cloudco-generated commits that introduced backup failures, sparking a GitHub issue titled "Please do not vibe fuck up this software." These episodes show that when the review step is removed, the AI speed becomes a liability, not an asset. Vibe coding accelerates delivery at the cost of reliability, and that trade-off eventually shows up in production incidents. The review tax doesn't just affect in-house teams, it's overwhelming open-source maintainers. In February 2026, GitHub acknowledged an influx of lower-quality AI-generated contributions, calling it an eternal September for open source and noting that the curl project ended its bug bounty program after AI submissions multiplied. Maintainers face a flood of pull requests that look plausible but require deep scrutiny, draining their limited volunteer time. An academic paper titled "Vibe Coding Kills Open Source" argued that AI-enabled contributions weaken the user-maintainer relationship, reducing the quality and availability of OSS despite higher raw productivity. When code arrives without an understanding of the project's architecture, the maintainer must not only review but also educate the contributor, adding friction. The ecosystem suffers because genuine problems can get lost in the noise. The hidden cost of AI contributions becomes a tax on the entire community. The METR trial's most shocking finding is that it was experienced developers who slowed down. Participants with years of open source work predicted AI would save them time, but instead they took 19% longer. Why? Senior developers work on complex systems where understanding the codebase is the main task, not typing. AI surface suggestions often look correct but introduce subtle architectural mismatches or concurrency bugs that a senior engineer must spend extra time unraveling. Git Clear's refactoring drop from 25% to under 10% also hits seniors hardest, because they rely on refactoring to maintain system health. When AI generates code that doesn't get restructured, technical debt piles up, slowing future work. The review tax scales with system complexity. The more code you have to verify in the context of an existing architecture, the greater the overhead. So for senior engineers, the tool often becomes a net drag rather than a booster. The way to capture the benefits without falling into the vibe coding trap is to treat AI output as a fast first draft that must pass through automated tests, static analysis, and a mandatory human code review every single line. AI